Hello, this is the 7th in our videos to support the preparation of a business plan for a new business startup. We're on to chapter 6, and this chapter is the first of our analysis type chapters, which are going to test the assumptions and make sure that you're on the right track in relation to your business planning. So this chapter is called the SWOT Analysis, S.W.O.T, and that stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. And the idea is that you have a long, hard and critical look at all of the elements of your business. We've already talked about the person, and you as the driving force behind the business. We've talked about the startup requirements for the business. We've talked about how you're going to get going. We've talked about then how you're going to operate, how you're going to deliver, the logistics and bottlenecks involved in delivering. And we've talked about the industry, what's happening out there, what industry you're in and where is it going. We've also talked about the market and locally, how are you going to get, attract and keep customers. Now we need to test all that. So the first thing we do is we articulate the strengths of the business. So this is a very positive look at the business. What are your strengths? What, in terms of your overall proposition from you as a person and your business idea and your business model, what are its strengths? Can you articulate them? Hopefully it's a comprehensive list and it's got lots and lots of strengths, and you should list them off. Then after you've listed them off, you should be able to say, well, what am I going to do about those strengths? How am I going to make the most of them? So I've got these strengths, great. So now what actions am I going to put in place in terms of my delivery of the business to make sure that I get the most out of those strengths, that I benefit from having such strengths? And then that should be a very important part of what drives you on in the business each time. The corollary of that, of course, is what are my weaknesses? You have to be honest here. I mentioned earlier on that you might have two versions of this document. You certainly need to identify weaknesses in both versions of it, but maybe in your personal version, you might be more honest with yourself. You might really have a long, hard talk with yourself and articulate weaknesses that you wouldn't want the general public or external parties to be aware of. But anyway, articulate your weaknesses, list them off, and be honest about them. And then when you identify them, start again thinking about, well, what am I going to do about them? What are my actions? So how am I going to minimize those weaknesses? How am I going to overcome those weaknesses? What am I going to do to get around them? How am I going to make sure that they don't damage the business going forward? And again, it's all about having a smart, informed, intelligent strategy to bring your business forward. So strengths and weaknesses are internal matters, or personal matters to you and to your business. The other section then is opportunities and threats. So next is you have a look at the opportunities. What opportunities are going to present themselves in relation to the business? So you have to explore what's going to happen in the world out there in the next near to medium to long term future. What's happening in terms of external factors that are going to affect the business and that are going to present opportunities for the business. So again, by now you've done your research, you know your industry, you know your business, you've looked at the world out there. You should be well able to articulate what those future opportunities are going to be. And then again, once you've articulated them, you should be able to say, well, what am I going to do to make sure that I make the most of those opportunities? How do I ride that wave? How do I engage with those opportunities and convert them into business? So again, each of those opportunities should transform itself into a strategy. All of this needs to be written down and articulated. Typically you'd see it as a list with maybe in a format where you identify the opportunities in a bullet point format, and you'd have an action plan against each of those. And the fourth part is the threats. Again, they're external, they're out there. You can't control them necessarily. You have to take them as given, and they're going to affect your business whether you like it or not. The key thing is, one, to be aware of them, so therefore identify them and articulate them. Two, to do something about them when they come and to be prepared for them. So between your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats can be a very critical driver of what strategic direction you're going to drive your business in the future times as the world changes, and the complexity and sophistication of this chapter is a good insight into really how much work you've done, how knowledgeable you are about your business and your industry sector, and how informed you are about future trends. All of this should be informing your strategy. As I keep emphasizing, Each time you make a choice, there are alternative choices. So each time you decide to do something, it's worth articulating why you didn't choose to do the alternative, because that can be very useful to reinforce the validity of the decisions you're making and why those decisions are grounded well, and you can stand over them when in future times you may be quite second guessing yourself or questioning, why did I do this? You can go back and say, now I recall why I did that. I analysed this, I analysed that, and based on the information I had at that time, that's why I made that decision. Doesn't mean you can't change your mind. Of course you can change your mind in light of changing circumstances, but at all times your decisions should be made based on the best, most informed, strategic information available to you. So this is a method to get that. Thank you.